Hey, this is Courtney Starhart, the corporate shaman. What's the one thing that no one knows anymore that used to be fairly common knowledge? What's the one thing that's hidden in plain view that could help you to completely change your life right away? You'll never guess, right? I'm going to keep you waiting for a little while, though, while I tell you a story. Back in the day, there was a lady known as Cleopatra. She wasn't popular with the Romans because she was a little bit too wild for their taste. In fact, they didn't like her at all. Not only was she corrupting their men with her powerful sex magic, as the way they saw it, because they were very conservative. Um, they did not like Cleopatra's worldliness, her sassiness, her power, her appeal, and eventually, her beautiful libraries in Alexandria were burned. Now, what were in those libraries? A lot of the keys to finding the Force, and the one thing that no one seems to know anymore was definitely stored there. Okay, so how do you plug into your personal power? If it were that easy, why wouldn't everyone be doing it? Well, first of all, because a lot of that knowledge was deliberately erased. It began with Cleopatra's libraries and it went on and on and on through the Dark Ages, through the witch burnings, and through the consolidation of power in a dark patriarchal sort of corporation whose goal was to convert at any cost in order to acquire more property, in order to acquire more holdings, more money, and more participants. In order to erase that one thing that could plug you into your power right now, what would they have to do? They burnt the libraries, they burnt the history, they burnt the people. They absolutely wiped out as much as they could during the conquest here in Native America of our knowledge. But fortunately, we had oral tradition. What does that mean? It means that we didn't necessarily trust the written word. The way that my elder explained it to me was that an oral tradition could be trusted from the lips of the master to the ears of the student, and that the student would appear and be faithful and would be taught about these oral traditions. They were also stored in the land, which is why it's so important that in my tradition, my elder was able to stay on his land. My ancestors moved away from the reservations, and I had to go back and actually recover this information. But his lineage was actually tied to the land that he and his people were still on. A lot of the stories were actually walked out or talked out or played out in an interactive fashion on the land. Okay? So, these oral traditions that were maintained by people and couldn't fully be erased, although they gave it a good run, they tell us the one thing that everyone needs to know. What is it? Are you ready yet? It was also written on the temples in Europe. It said, Know thyself. And many temples and traditions also said, The answer is hidden in plain view. Again, what could that possibly mean? Well, I'm sure that it means lots of things, and I welcome you to dialogue about it. I would love to have a conversation with the community about what you think that this thing might be. But what is this thing that no one knows anymore? We are part of the Force. The Force is one with us, and we are one with the Force. But there's a specific set of instructions for how to align yourself with this higher power. Now, you can call it God, you can call it the Great Mystery, Allah, Buddha, whatever you want to call it, and however people portray it. What we're looking for is the concept of a unifying field, a force of light, a force of consciousness that connects us all, okay? This force is a field, okay? And it permeates everything. But why are people so far away from being one with the force today? Well, hate to pull out my book again because I'm not trying to market, but if you want access to all of this information that I talk about in one simple book, you can get 10 interviews with world renowned experts. When I was dying and I had to figure out how to work a miracle, how to walk on fire, how to make rain, as we say in the Southwest, I had to figure out this secret, right? I knew that it was possible for people to perform miracles. I had heard the story of Jesus and the walking on water and, the raised from the dead, the healing of the lepers, the water to wine. That's the Christian tradition. But in other traditions, people walk on coals. In the Southwestern traditions, the very definition of a medicine person is someone who's able to find the force and work with that power in order to make rain. Now, how would that possibly happen? Well, the first step in it is actually learning how to work with what Joseph Chilton Pierce, who's in my book, wonderful man, what he called the triune brain. So it turns out that we don't just have one brain, we actually have three brains that developed together. Okay, so we have the lizard brain, which runs the autonomic nervous system and many other things. It also stores pre-verbal memories. Then we have the small mammal brain with a large mammal brain, the frontal lobe, and then here we have the largest brain, more nervous system activity in the heart than in the brain, okay? More neural networks. So here he actually says the fourfold brain. I'm looking for a picture of it because it's a wonderful thing when you actually see it laid out. So you can see there's action, feeling, and thinking. There are three different aspects to those brains. When we are able to actually quiet the mental chatter, you can see right here a diagram of how our energy field expands. Okay, and that's a picture of the electromagnetic currents running through the heart. All right, so this in and of itself is an entire doctoral dissertation. I really recommend this because he's elaborating on this key concept of there being a crack in the cosmic egg. That was Joseph Chilton Pierce's way of saying that it is possible to work miracles and that there's a specific set of steps that I call the four keys and we call the medicine wheel in Native America. What is this constant thing with the four directions, with the four elements, with the four keys? Because in order to actually plug into the force, we need to create something of a plug. And this plug has four prongs or four directions. Those four directions create a solid bubble structure, which you saw in the diagram of the energy bubble. This opens you up to be able to plug into your higher power, plug into the force. But the one thing that no one knows nowadays, it seems, the answer that's hidden in plain sight, the breath. Ding, 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 ding. Love making sounds. The breath is the key to getting into the force. All right. You have to have a solid vehicle already. So you need to be having proper nutrition, some yoga, good minerals, good vegetables. Okay. But once that body is in a good way and you have the desire to plug into the force, the big power axis here is the breath brain axis. So the breath is what I call the first step, and the brains is what we're talking about here. The knowledge of the fact that when you take charge of the breath, you're literally stepping into the driver's seat of your vehicle. If you're not driving, what is driving? Autopilot. We all know that there's such a thing as autopilot in a plane, but did you know that there's an autopilot in your body? Obviously, you can't be thinking of your heart rate all the time or your breath all the time because how would you function? The autopilot is what resides in the amygdala. The secret to taking over your vehicle and expanding your energy body and dropping into a better state of consciousness is the breath. And again, I'll say this until I'm blue in the face and everyone's breathing properly. Box breathing is the quickest way to plug into the force, to quiet the mind, and to expand the heart energy so that we can plug into this higher power. Box breathing, let's do it together. We're going to inhale to 4, place the hand on the heart, and the other hand on the abdomen. We're going to inhale through the nose, deeply and fully. That's why we have this hand here on the abdomen, because you want to fill up the entire lung capacity. With the left hand, you're finding your heart rate. Hold for 4. Exhale to 4. and hold for 4. We're going to repeat that sequence 5 to 10 times, once an hour, until it becomes normal for your body to start relaxing more, breathing more deeply, slowing your heart rate. And when you slow your heart rate and you get your brain and your heart rate in sync, that's when your energy expands. So we have extensive research from HeartMath Institute. Okay. Next episode, I'm actually going to show you exactly how this works. And I'm really excited. HeartMath Institute has 30 plus years of solid research on the brain heart connection. When you get your brain waves and your heart rate in sync, which is precisely what this little puppy measures, okay? When you get those in sync, you drop into a different state of coherence, which allows you access to the force. It's a little bit deeper than that in the sense that, of course, you need nutrition. Of course, you need to learn about the crack in the cosmic egg and the triune system, how the brains and how the heart and how the body works. But now that we have devices that can actually measure all of that, it takes a lot of the mystery out of it. So over the past 15 years that I've been doing these retreats and doing corporate training, and I love the handle the corporate shaman because that really says it all. I'm not going to stop being a traditional native medicine practitioner. But what I am going to do is I'm going to give corporate people who are mainstream, business owners, entrepreneurs. I've worked with tons of athletes and musicians, okay? Now, stepping into the business world in New York, we can plug this onto your lapel and we can actually measure your heart-brain coherence. In the past 15 years of doing these retreats, I've been teaching people how to breathe properly, how to eat properly, how to rest properly, and how to take care of themselves so that they can be at their very peak performance. You're capable of things, miracles, rainmaking, turning water into wine, parting the Red Seas, brother and sister. You can do these things. It is your birthright. It is hidden in plain sight. The breath. When I taught people how to breathe properly and they got really good at it, then we put this on them. The heart math stuff went off the charts. Unbelievable. The first step that HeartMath teaches you to get all of this in sync is the breath. After that, we have a series of things we do to invoke beautiful thoughts and to really boost your power. But step number 1 that you can do right now is that box breathing. HeartMath Institute has demonstrated scientifically, based on concrete research, that all of the good indicators go up and all the bad ones go down within 28 days of learning this technique. So, stress, anxiety, sickness, fatigue, depression, all of those things go down by 30 to 50%, and all of the good things like focus, connection, joy, productivity, all of those go up by 30 to 50% in 28 days. And even if you don't have one of these, because I've been working with this for all of these years, I know what the secret hack is. It's the breath. So do your box breathing. No one has to know that you're doing it. No one's going to see you doing it, okay? Quietly at your desk, just breathe deep and learn that pattern, 4 by 4 by 4, okay? And if you do that once an hour for just a couple of minutes, I guarantee that your life will be different in 28 days. But you actually have to do the push-ups to create that plug, that cable that plugs you into the force. See? This little guy? If you can't see it, then in the picture you have the lightning coming down from above, which is the force, right? Here's the plug. And you have to create this stable plug, cord, which is the breath. The breath is the cable that plugs into the force, all right? It's the secret to everything. I hope you're having a beautiful day and that you've enjoyed this. And I look forward to next time actually working together with you with this equipment and showing you in detail how it all works.